Hello, everyone. Hello,
You're
welcome.
live.
Yeah,
Hello, guys.
we're live. So it's our weekly community call. Um, we are happy to welcome our guest, Katie Puder, a choreographer and Avant Chamber Ballet founder and entrepreneur and multifaceted person to our studio today. And your host today will be me, Anna Bulkina, Francesco Comito, and Antonio Comito.
Hi,
So
guys.
Hello,
welcome
everyone.
everyone. Yeah, while you are guys joining us, let me introduce you like Katie in little bit more detailed way. So Katie, apart from being the founder of Avant Chamber Ballet, and so she's also serving as an artistic director and primary choreographer. So she has created over 30 ballets with Avant Chamber Ballet and collaborated and choreographed with Rapid Symphony Orchestra, International Music Festival in San Antonio, American Baroque Opera Company, Orchestra of New Spain, Evelyn Ballet Theater, Very Grease Ensemble, and many more. So she started dancing with Wichita Falls Ballet Theater and moved to Fort Worth to continue training, where she was studying with Maria Terezia Balogh and Paul. How would you pronounce his last name?
Mejia.
Mejia. Okay, so I was not sure. Mejia, Paul Mejia. So she was a member of Metropolitan Classical Ballet for 6 years, and danced in classics such as Raimonda, La Bayadere, Paquita, Don Quixote, Spartacus, as well as Dotson Balanchine ballets, including Agon, Four Temperaments, and Bugacco. In 2007, she moved to Athens, Greece, and continued to study ballet and contemporary dance at DANCCE. So it's like dance. In 2012, she founded the Avant Chamber Ballet, and then it has developed it into a professional company known for exciting new commissions and live music, as well as the industry-leading women's choreography project. So many things you've done so far. Congratulations for your activity. And we, with Francesco, we've seen some of the productions of Avant Chamber Ballet, and it was,
Fantastic.
yes, it was really really great.
I was attending 3 in a row.
Yeah, three in a row.
Wow.
3 in a row.
So
The same day. No, the same day. Yeah, two in the same day. Two performances. It was so incredible. I said, I must attend another show.
so we had a chance to see the production, not only from the position of the public member, like from the audience, but also as some kind of a backstage kitchen. So
Really?
yeah, yes. So our
Wow.
first question to you, Katie, would be like, okay, you were a participant of that world, right? You were like a part of it as a dancer, and then you turn to be a creator of that. So you start to lead. So that turn in your life, in your like mindset, how it happened, and what caused it, what inspired you, and like if you could just talk a little bit about it.
Sure. I started with the pretty traditional route of a classical ballet dancer that I had been trained under Paul Mejia and his wife, and had been hired when I graduated from high school, and immediately went into company life where you get paid every week to rehearse and then perform many productions a year at a theater, all very traditional. And I will say that Paul was an amazing mentor to me, and we still do his production of the Nutcracker. I still talk to him and do his choreography because he's an amazing choreographer. But I kind of had burned out of that path. That every day you go in and you are a tool of a choreographer, and you rehearse ballets and perform, and then repeat, and then repeat, and repeat. And I had the opportunity, an invitation to go to Athens. And that really changed my life in that I studied contemporary dance and modern dance and just got to see some amazing productions and started to find dance outside of the box of traditional theater work, where as a professional ballet dancer, if you don't work for a company, it can be a little scary as a freelancer. And when I moved back to Texas for family reasons, I started doing a little bit of choreography and was a little frustrated because I was working mostly for schools with students, which is lucrative and easier to find. And then that was also right during the recession. So Metropolitan Classical Ballet, where I had performed previously, had closed its doors. And I had many friends who were fantastic dancers who literally didn't have jobs all of a sudden. So we got together and I got invited to a festival to create something choreography. So I performed as well as two of my friends. And we performed with two musicians that were also friends. So Avant Chamber Ballet really started out as a project among artists who wanted to do something with their time in a different way than how we had been employed up to that point. And like many things that you might start from scratch, we weren't paid at the beginning. It was really just for the joy of producing something new. And also at that point in Dallas-Fort Worth area, no one was using live music with dance because of the financial, extra financial cost. A lot of ballet companies and dance companies had completely cut live music. And you see that across, at least across the US and maybe across Europe as well, that more and more companies were using recorded music. So from the beginning, that set Avant Chamber Ballet apart from other companies, not just in Texas, but across the US. And that's still a big part of our mission, that every performance we do has live music as part of it.
This is fantastic.
Really.
Absolutely. What you say, Katie, about the not everyone is has the opportunity. I mean, to have an orchestra in
For the performance.
for the performance. It's also like this in Europe. I want to ask to our friends musicians. Look, times ago, all musicians, they were working in church. Vivaldi, Monteverdi, Pergolesi, Palestrina, every church, there were schools for musicians, but suddenly things change. And now you have, if you are lucky, you have some guitar in a church, and you don't have this big production of for sacred music.
Sacred.
Exactly. And so less jobs and more musicians. They get degrees university, and they hope to repay this debt they got on their shoulders with no jobs. So start to think about these things. Suddenly things can change in a bit.
Yeah, things that can fall on your shoulders like in a moment that you cannot foresee. As you were saying, that when you came back from Greece and then there was a recession, and so many ballet companies closed their doors because they could not afford to have more dancers, and as well as they could not afford to have live music at their performances. So when you started to work, and when you started you still wanted to have some live music for the performances, right? And you just mentioned that for the beginning you were not really getting any like revenue from what you were doing, and so it was just like for the sake of love for art. Yeah. When it occurred to you that your mindset as a dancer and even as a choreographer, that just for FYI, not every dancer can be a choreographer and vice versa. Okay, so you guys can witness here Katie, who is a dancer and a choreographer and also entrepreneur. So it's not a very often happening thing. So when it occurred to you that you would need some extra skills and knowledge and some information to keep running, to keep this thing from falling.
I mean, I think anybody who starts their own business, if you knew how much work went into it, I don't know if you would start that business from the beginning. Like anything worthwhile, it takes a lot of work. I think, as my background in ballet and the arts, you don't have that additional training in business or financial knowledge. So really, I took it upon myself to read as much as I could and watch as many videos or continuing education I could find. And kind of as the company grew and we saw that it really could be something that had some staying power, I also became more and more busy with the ballet. So it's not easy to continue that education. And I've many times thought of going back to college and things like that. But I find that talking to other leaders in the arts and working through things with, say, my grant writer and our board of directors, I've been able to educate myself as I go along with what Avant Chamber Ballet needs as we've grown, from just a group of friends creating performances to now having a brick and mortar studio and a full-time job. It really was always out of necessity that I was able to educate myself on, okay, what's the next step? What is the next thing to know?
We know that, the entrepreneurial journey is a never-ending story. It's like you are learning by doing and you are expanding yourself with your business. It's like you are growing with your business in a sense, let's say. And I think it's very interesting. I want to ask you, now that you described your journey through entrepreneurial world, can you discuss now about any specific skills or traits that you believe are essential for young entrepreneurs? Any advice?
For funding in the arts, one thing that has really made a big difference is that I can talk passionately about what we do, and I can write about what we do. A large part of our funding, in the United States, is not funded through the government. Although we do get funding now from the state and from the city, it's maybe 10% or a little more of our budget. It grows all the time because the city of Dallas is investing in the arts and they want to invest more and more, which makes it a great place for us to be actually right now. But I find having the skill of being able to write about what we do well has actually been surprisingly important, because of what I do every day is very physical. That I'm in the studio working with dancers, teaching classes, on site at the theater. Everything is very physical with dance and with performances, but being able to write about what we do and describe what we do is a skill that I don't think I was bad at, but over the years, I've become much, much better at that, because everything we do, whether it's a press release to media, to a grant report or a grant application, being able to explain what we
Exactly.
do as an artist is
The communication effort is something crucial in a business venture, in any business venture. Yeah.
and dancers, we aren't talking in our art form. So
As
when
well as art, yeah, we musicians do the same.
yeah,
We just play.
so
Yeah.
that was an unusual transition and kind of scary to really then, okay, go from my whole life you weren't supposed to express an opinion to all of a sudden, you know, your opinion is what is driving everything that you're doing.
Mm. You
And
know,
what
while
should
you
you
were
do?
sorry to interrupt. While you were talking, I kind of I had those two points. First is the responsibility. So I was thinking, would anybody still be motivated and still be like in the business running, just trying to learn, trying to educate oneself and so on, if there would not be a company behind that you feel responsibility for? And the second point is, doing what you are, whatever business you're running, doing that thing. For example, if a musician runs a business about music, or the dancer runs or choreographer runs a business about the dance and choreography, adds like a additional value to an additional skill, because the process from the inside, the process like from the very beginning, like how to move your feet, and to the point where you need to to the point, to the like end to end, to the complete production,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So those two things, I just wanted to point out that, it's occurred to me, it is very important. Like, first is responsibility for the people behind you, and also, or the people from your team, and the second, that you really know the craft.
Yeah, and I could have taken my career in a different direction. Like, as a choreographer, instead of starting my own group, I could have continued to focus on being a freelance choreographer. And I could be sending, my work across the country to other companies like Avant Chamber Ballet, and then I hire in choreographers for ACB. So I could be doing that and traveling across the country and creating work at companies and schools. And while I know that would have been really fulfilling, I also personally have chosen and love working with my company and with the dancers there, whether it is, my 12 professional dancers who we employ, or our school, which has about another 12 dancers just on the edge of being professional. And
Mm-hmm.
mentoring them and seeing them grow is extremely rewarding, extremely. So there are, those different avenues I could have taken. And I love that not only is it my work and my artistic expression, but I get to help other dancers have a rewarding career, or guide them where their career might go next.
I see.
And
Could you,
we have to say that also running a business is a very creative activity. Don't forget this.
Oh yeah, I mean, and running a nonprofit, there are no rules. That's what's strange about running a nonprofit in the US, is that I could take it in any direction I want. A lot of nonprofits take it in the direction of doing more and more training, because that can be very lucrative. But like we were saying earlier, sometimes you're training dancers for jobs that don't exist. So I find that a strange loop of charging dancers. Maybe, some programs are extremely expensive, like we were talking about, but you never then leave that with the promise of a high paying job. Because as an artist, any kind of artist, that you aren't leaving going into the workforce to make your fortune.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you are a lawyer, you study in a law school, or in a doctor studying in a medical school, you know for sure once you graduate, you have opportunity to be
Not
employed.
anymore.
Not anymore. 1 second.
But I mean, at least it was this way, right? But
Yeah.
now, but for the musicians, it was always like we always have that kind of dream in front of us, that we are dreaming a dream. Okay, like once I graduate, that's something gonna happen. You know, we don't know what, but something gonna happen, and we will, you know, miraculously get the, in the world of opportunities. Well, you know, not, very, very little amount of us, like percentage of us, can really, you know, get into that world, while the rest, some kind of somehow they find the way how to survive. But it's of course, as I can understand what you're saying. Like as a school runner, or as a business runner, as a company runner, and also being a dancer, you don't want to give them like fake promises, like, oh, you know, once you just pay your money, and once you graduate, you will be like, you know, you will be fine.
No,
Of
but
course you
this
want.
is what the entire system is built on the carrot in front of the donkey.
Yeah.
This is how the entire system is built. The system is built for banks. Banks, they need a reason to lend money. That's how money is created. If you don't have a reason, can be the house, can be your education. If you don't have a reason, you cannot lend money. And so banks, the entire system doesn't work anymore. So you need also a reason. You need the carrot, the career, can be the
Promising future.
money, prosperity, whatever you want. Come here, I will give you my degree, and after, good luck, find a job. So
For this reason, I think it's very important to support this kind of projects that fulfill the end-to-end journey for the artist. I mean, not just only mastering your craft, dancing, playing your instrument, be an artist, but also you have to acquire a huge amount of collateral skills that really can shape you as a person, as a professional, really in a very strong way. Really, to be an artist today, you have to be really a badass. You
Antonia,
really.
you say very well, and I want to ask a question to Katie about this. Before I say just a little thing, if you consider, for example, kids, they learn incredibly fast. They don't have, for example, a family to take care of. They don't have a girlfriend, I mean, or other things. They just learn, and they can learn, for example, from 0 to 100%. They are like a kind of hard drive, 100 gigabytes, and you fulfill this hard drive completely. But adults, that they were doing the same thing for an entire 30 years, for example, what they cannot learn so fast. So what is the key to find the motivation to learn all these skills that Antonia is talking about? Katie, what is the key?
I mean, I don't think anyone would do what we do if there wasn't a love and passion for what we're doing. And then for me, it's the responsibility of having my business and my dancers, that I want to provide for them projects that are of high quality and that are artistically fulfilling. A dancer's career is very short. So, in COVID, we all lost, a year at least of your career, that, that might be 10% or more of your ideal career when you are at your highest performance. So even during COVID, that was a huge driver, that no matter how, we needed to figure out how to safely, keep training so you stay at your top performance level, because you can't do it in your tiny living room in your apartment And also, if you're not on stage, you are losing why you're doing all of this hard daily physical work. And you're losing part of your career that you've trained, for most women, especially women, their whole life. It's more common to see male dancers start a little bit later for physical reasons. But you've trained for 20 years to dance, and then we've lost some of our time. So I have a great responsibility to them to make Avant Chamber Ballet a success. And then the more I work within our community, I have that responsibility to keep making our projects as successful as possible so that we can keep bringing dance into areas of Dallas that don't have the performing arts, so everybody can experience it.
But Katie, how do you find the
Right.
time? This is a very no, just a second. I have so many friends online. They're writing comments to my posts. We talk personally. Being a pianist is a full-time job. Or you just play. You can play, and that's it. That's your job. You need somebody else to take care of your, financial situation about your managing your career. But just a second. You are a perfect example. When I saw the production, the Nutcracker,
Yeah, the whole production.
while I was enjoying, the performance, I was looking to every detail, and so there is such incredible perfection in everything. And I was thinking, behind this thing, there is a person that is running everywhere. You personally,
managing everything.
exactly. How do you find the time to learn, to stay, I'd say, updated with the changing in the industry? Where do you find the motivation to stay and read a new book, maybe?
I mean, I can't say that it's extremely healthy, but I do probably work 60, 70-hour weeks. And, I chose within our first couple seasons to no longer be a performer because I found I could not do everything. That to me, being a professional ballet dancer is a full-time job. So there was no way that I could be performing at the level I wanted to perform at and do all my cross training and all my dancing and still have the time to invest in everything that happens behind the scenes. And we all hope that, Avant Chamber Ballet, as we continue to grow on the trajectory we have, that I'll have more and more staff to help me. But I'm greedy. So the more successful we are, the more I want to do. And the more productions we want to do and the more artists I want to work with. I find all of the time I spend on Avant Chamber Ballet very rewarding. So whether it is working on my budget and QuickBooks to working in the studio, I find all of that just gives back to me as well. I don't have children of my own. So I'm lucky in that I have some free time that I know I would want to spend with my family, or that responsibility I don't have. So in some ways, my career has fulfilled me in ways that I think that some people find with their personal life. But I can't at this point imagine it any way different.
Wow.
Yeah, because
would you describe yourself as a perfectionist?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is very important. No.
You see, Katya, what you say, it's wonderful. I agree 100% with you. It's a full-time job. Being do what your full-time job. But I want to ask you one thing. We, for example, as an artist or ballet dancer, we take ballet dancer, the ballet or the music as a full-time job. So we don't care about other things. This is what I have to do. But suddenly, I find myself in a situation that I need to take care of myself by myself. And I don't know, and I don't have all the skills that I need. So I need, when I'm, for example, 35 years old, or I start to have, for example, a family, kids, and I don't have any knowledge about this particular field, financial
Any
education,
financial
business, etc.
education, any
So,
entrepreneurial education, yeah.
so what can I do? I'm in big trouble. And so maybe a solution.
You can hope to find a job as an employee.
No, that's a different story.
Right.
That's a different story. But here we are talking about being an entrepreneur, and you know that nowadays, especially if you are just an employee, considering what is happening financially in the world, the big crisis that is coming. I mean, sooner or later, it's not when will come. How big is going to be this crisis? That's the problem. It's not enough to have just your job position. You need somehow to do another activity together with what you do. And so young ballet dancer, young musicians, they should, well, they are practicing while they are doing their hair, also educate themselves, because the schools, the universities, they don't teach you this kind of thing. So it's your responsibility to be ready for what, I mean, for the future that is already here. For example, as we said before, Katie, musicians, they were playing in all churches. There was no radio. There was no internet. There was no television. Everybody had the school. Okay, I will play the violin. I will find a job in a church. But now they invented, for example, the radio, the CD. And what happened when they will invent holograms? For example, that they play.
No, the holograms is very old-fashioned
I mean, I
technology.
don't know, whatever. I know that sounds very crazy what I'm saying, but actually, it's already here what I'm saying. So, what do you think, Katie, about the future that is coming and is already here? How we can prepare ourselves for this?
I think that always, as a dancer, at least, that's my knowledge of it, is that we all know that we have a short career. And most dancers always have a second job, that you are performing, but then I chose to teach ballet from when I was very young to tiny kids. And I loved that. But I also worked at a law firm as a file clerk for my sister, and discovered what I loved and didn't like about office work. And kind of got a bigger view of the world beyond the ballet studio. And I always recommend for my young dancers to explore outside of the traditional ballet world, whether it is taking college classes, one class at a time, a few hours on the side, or discovering if you love teaching, if you like sharing dance in that way. And not everybody does. It seems like kind of an automatic thing that a lot of dancers say, oh, well, I'll teach. But unless you really love doing it, that's not where you should go as a dancer either, and I know you've probably met musicians in the same way. It shouldn't be the default. So I find, as an artist, the more you can make your outside life rich in different ways and experiences and travel, the more you can find where you find joy, not necessarily just in the traditional performances that we're supposed to do as an artist. What else do you love? I love organizing. I love lists and making sure everything runs very well. And that extra
You're very good in doing it. I mean, let me tell you.
That has allowed me to be really successful in what I do and not have a full-time staff helping me with every production from beginning to end. I definitely have people who help me, but just because of my skill of being able to stay very organized with what needs to happen with a production has, I think, been a huge part of my success, that not every artist has that
That's
skill or personality. So I think, the more you know yourself, the more you'll know where you can take your career, whether it is directly connected to your art or not. That you have to know yourself and know your skills and where. I have skills that I don't want to apply. I don't enjoy sitting at a desk. I've had many times people say, oh, you would be wonderful in this job. You would do this better than so-and-so that, is at my company because of your drive or your organization or the way I'm able to write or talk about different subjects. But I know myself, I might be able to do that job very well, but I don't love doing that I wouldn't be happy doing that. But I love applying those skills in relationship to dance with Avant Chamber Ballet. But to be an event organizer or planner is not, while I could do that very, very well because it relates to what I do with Avant Chamber Ballet and I could make a lot more money, I still have to look at my overall happiness in applying my skills.
Yeah, that's very important. We have one question from Alex Brusnikin. So, he's asking, can you discuss the importance of financial management and budgeting in running a successful business? Yeah, that's a very important question. Yeah. So,
yeah. And it becomes more and more important as the company grows larger. It only becomes more important that any small mistake I make in our financial management is harder to overcome, which has really inspired me to work more and more on my knowledge of budgeting and finances. That before it was like, oh, if I don't, if something isn't successful, it's $1,000, no big deal. But now it's like, okay, that's $50,000. And that's all of a sudden a really scary amount of money to recoup as a nonprofit that, doesn't make profits, literally. That our goal is always to just cover our costs.
Yeah, how do you approach the risk taking? This is a very important aspect also, how the risk taking and decision making.
Yeah, we have many musicians, if you would talk to them about the finances and stuff, they would be, oh my God. Yeah, it's so scary. Too much risk. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. It's like too much. So
but I think this is the right journey to death,
Absolutely.
If you can, you can improve something if you can measure it. If you are not aware of your financial personal statement or your business financial statement, how could you improve it? How could you be aware of it? This is really something that gets me crazy, really.
Yeah, people, yeah.
Well, I think first is being very honest with financially understanding what your outcomes could be. And while taking risks, you are financially conservative. So I'm taking a risk to mount a production because the risk is no one shows up, right? No one buys a ticket. But I know historically that this kind of production has a window of ticket sales from here to there. And then I know that this production, generally historically, we have a grant that might be between this amount and this amount. And trying to budget towards the middle of that so that I am always pushing ourselves to do something bigger and better, but also probably covering all of our costs. I could always be very, very conservative. I find that what has also made us successful is that we are willing to push a little bit the limits of what we have done before. We're always trying to do something a little bit more. While being conservative with what I think our success rate could be. That I'm not going to say, oh, we're going to sell out every performance, because that probably could happen, but it probably isn't. And always pushing our risk just a little bit. So if something doesn't go well, because post-COVID, it is slightly hard to judge what production is going to be successful or not. We had shows that sold very well during COVID, like 2021. It was so strange. I was like, I right now am wearing a mask backstage. I wouldn't be in the audience, but we sold extremely well.
This is very curious, and it's really very interesting to highlight also that testing your strategy frequently, it's very important. As you said, creating your history and testing the strategy.
Statistics, yeah.
And don't be afraid of mistakes.
From an awareness point, as you said, understanding how and how much you can push your effort to expand.
Yeah. And I think it's learning from experience, because I had none of this training to know. But even if you do online or college training on nonprofits, they won't teach you how to judge the market of a city, because no one really knows how to. And every year that we exist is so incredibly different when it comes to our audience and how to market to them and what hits the perfect point, and what you could do the exact same thing the next year and not have the same result. But, we're always also balancing doing productions like the Nutcracker, which I think is an amazing production. It employs a whole orchestra. It employs all of my dancers, and it sells extremely well. We almost do sell out that production every year. But that balances out then doing something very new, completely new works of choreography. We commission new works. One thing we do is the Women's Choreography Project, because female leadership and artistic leadership in the ballet world is still imbalanced. So we commission new works. Oftentimes they are a little challenging for the audience to watch, or harder for us to explain and market to our audience. It's not a story that everyone knows. Those productions balance each other out. And I know we don't rent our giant hall that we use for the Nutcracker. We are in a very small black box theater. So I have lower costs. So being really honest and having common sense about knowing what is going to sell well in Dallas, Texas. And so it's an educated risk always. And I find the more educated I am, the less that risk is actually dangerous.
Great. This is fantastic. Exactly. I strongly believe in this. Yeah. I agree 100%.
What do you think about the connection making?
About networking?
The networking, in that business. Not, you might be as well not a non-profit organization. You can be like a profit organization, but still, it's very important to build those connections and to maintain them. So what were your steps in this direction?
Sure. I mean, I think a huge part of our success was that, immediately I had some respect and friends within the dance world, like Paul Mejia, my previous mentor. He has given me great responsibility, but also trust to stage his work. Wow. And he gave me many, many costumes when he decided to move recently. And then my connections to friends that I danced with or knew in the world is how we've been able to do Balanchine works and works by Christopher Wheeldon, two very well-known choreographers. Even though we were a new company and small, we were able to stage those works because that is a huge part of within the ballet world, people knowing that we are of a certain caliber. Mm-hmm. So I think no matter what, networking in that way and knowing people within your industry is so strong. And then all of my friends and people I knew through the music industry, classical music, is why I've been able to build out such a wonderful, rich part of the live music of every show. And Then there's the networking amongst other arts organizations, sometimes who have no connection to ballet and live music. Having those friendships and those connections, when I do have a question about, we were saying, financial management and budgeting, has been really useful and led me to the contractor that I work with, who helps us with grant writing, who's been an executive director for many, many years in different arts organizations, that I have those people I can go to with questions and advice. And then networking, there's all the networking that I do with our donors and our patrons to make sure that they feel appreciated and connected with the work that we do. So there's all the work I do of myself in my own office, in my own brain, thinking of everything. But no matter what, that's always has to be communicated and expressed out to the greater community of Dallas and beyond, through all of those relationships I have.
But Katie, I don't know how it is for ballet dancers, but at least for musicians, usually when we are young musicians, we are in conservatory, or we stay most of the time just with musicians
in our circle, like
exactly. So I believe that is a very, very
important
bad habit.
Bad habit. Important is to stay, to build a network of friends. There are no musicians, and for example, one is studying law, another, I don't know, manage business. Yeah. So, how important is, for example, to build a network when you are still a student?
Yeah.
Wow, this is an asset, guys. The network that you are creating in your early stage, it's something that you can have throughout your entire life.
Exactly. Yeah. And also you learn the skill how to make friends. You learn the skill how to talk with people. If you always talk about the same topic with people, they only know one topic. You are like a horse, I would say. You are wearing this, how do you call this in English?
Yeah.
This
blinders.
Exactly.
Blinders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Blinders. So what do you think about it? Can you tell us about your personal experience?
Well, and I mean, I think you naturally are always going to spend time with, and as a ballet dancer, you're in your studio studying and working all the time. And it is rare to get to know people outside of the ballet studio. But I think investing in those relationships is where it starts, because my friends that I danced with are now, very few of them are actually in the world of dance to this day. They are lawyers and literally doctors and physical therapists. And it's amazing where the passion of ballet teaches you so many things about self-discipline and work ethic. And so many of my friends, maybe they didn't become professional dancers, or when they finished their professional dancing career, they transitioned into very interesting other careers. So I really think that those people that you did know when you were very young, not all of them are going into the music world to stay in connection with everyone, because I've learned so much from my friends who really did go off into every different avenue possible. And so between my friends and family, I don't think I did have many friends outside of the ballet world, but now they are outside of the ballet world. So that's my experience of networking. And then I did get to know people through the Symphony and lighting design and backstage, that always having your eyes open to the other collaborators that you have when you are a performing artist. You're always surrounded by interesting people. And I loved meeting always our patrons and people like that. outside who supported my original ballet company that I performed in as a dancer,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm still Facebook friends with a lot of those people. That when I do have a question or an area of understanding and I don't know where to go next, I do have that network of people. But I don't think I was a great example of going outside of the world of ballet. But as you grow older, your whole network of friends will change because there's so few people, unfortunately, that end up where they thought they were when we were first in school.
Yeah, that's true.
But
So,
let's say maybe it was a fortune that you come up with something bigger than you can even imagine when you were in your first stage, you know.
Absolutely. I did not have, unfortunately, in some ways, a grand plan of where Avant Chamber Ballet could go, but also that gave me the flexibility of going where we were successful. So
this is great. And I think that this is also our mission as SM Classic, to give voice to these great examples, to our community, to let them understand that there are these great examples, amazing examples that can expand themselves beyond borders, you know, because we don't have limits. We can explore ourselves as an artist 360 degrees.
Yeah.
And this is fantastic. Exactly.
Katie, I want to ask you the last question. You said you were talking about patrons, sponsors. Yeah, I tell you one example. As a musician, for example, I have many friends, or myself too. I was thinking like this. When I present my project to somebody that should give me money to realize this project, say, I play this sonata by Beethoven, this program, very beautiful, and I play differently, so you should sponsor my concert. So this is actually doesn't work, because we know that if you have a project, you have to make a business plan. You have to show to the investors, to the patrons, look, I'm gonna do this is gonna cost this.
Real forecasting.
You will make this amount of money for publicity. I will give you this, you will give me that, etc., etc. So this is a skill that you must learn as an artist, and when you present your project, you personally, what can you what is your advice for young musicians, ballet dancers? They have a special project. How to raise capital for their project?
I would say that a huge part of at least our success of having grant and government and corporate sponsorships is that you can show that you have the experience of being successful, and that then you have the experience of knowing how much programs and all of these things cost, which you don't have when you're, a young artist. So my advice is always start small. So yeah, in my mind, I knew what ballet company I wanted, and I knew where I wanted to perform in this big theater, and I wanted to do things with a full orchestra and a beautiful production of all these stories and music that I want to use. But I started with a donation only performance in a tiny black box where they donated the space to me. And we had 6 dancers and 2 musicians, and they were all friends. So from that, yes, I started with a tiny piece of where I want to end up. But I was able to tell them the next time when I wanted to move to a bigger theater, hey, I already did this. I did this in a smaller way. Exactly. And I know how much it cost. And I want to take this next little step up.
Exactly.
Like a prototype.
That I don't know many people who are able to go and convince somebody to give you, okay, $100,000. I've never done anything like this before. That's a crazy investment for that patron unless they are in love with you inside and out. For somebody to invest, like, oh yeah, here's this huge chunk of cash to do a show that you've never done anything like this before. And foundations and government grants do not work that way in the States, at least. So I was able to show every step of the way. Okay, we did this tiny show. Now we grew to this show. Now we have this many followers. We have this many ticket buyers. And start small so you can prove yourself. And then you also are growing your understanding of financial management and budgeting, so you know how much all of these things cost. Because also that's not taught in arts management school, how much it actually costs to have your stage crew and your lighting design.
This is so important. Oh my God.
And it changes all the time. So I think the strongest thing I have when I present a project to someone is the proof of an experience that I have done things successfully before. And the only way to do that is start small.
But this is, this is the standard journey for any ventures. You start small from friends and family level, then you go to seed investment, angel investment, and then venture capital, so levels of investment. But it's normal. You are creating your background of experience, and you are showing that you're worth the investment, because an investor will invest in people, in knowledge, in experience. They need, let's say,
they pray every morning to find people with a great idea, and
exactly.
that's their only dream. They dream in night, please God, send me somebody with a great idea so I can invest my money.
Exactly.
And earn
about
20 times more revenue
and make a 20 deeper.
I know so many artists who have amazing ideas. Really, I do. But if you, and I know so many artists who don't have good follow through, who don't know how to make things happen. So if you have a good idea and you can prove that I have been able to make things happen in the past,
this is heaven.
That's been the key to continually having funders reinvest in us.
Exactly.
Grants and foundations. Because I do see organizations being funded by some of our Dallas grants, and then they're not there 2 years later on the list. But we've been able to continually prove, okay, we had an idea and we were able to do it. And I really think that comes down to a lot of hard work, that artists, we all are great creative people. Like, that's why we're in the work that we are. But if you have to follow through with these great ideas.
You must have the executive power to give
executive power, Antonio. Katie say everybody. We are creative people. There are a lot of ballet dancers or musicians. They have $1 million idea. They have incredible ideas. But how important is a great team, and how important is to convince other people to work with you and believe in your idea?
I think you have to really know what you don't know. Like, I know that I did not know how lighting design works. And to this day, I know who is good and who I want to work with, but I still couldn't tell you how any of that works. But I respect and work with the other lighting designers and show them respect as well for their skill. And strangely enough, that doesn't always happen in the performing arts. That I know that I am not a costume designer, but I know I have taste and I know what the style and that I want, but I can't sew. So I work with people and appreciate them for their skill and have real conversations with people. I think it's any skill in any career that you have to appreciate the people who know things you don't know and work with collaborators that are also at your level of training, but in their specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And now we were talking about great ideas, and then the last question. Let's talk about innovation, also in ballet. For example, now we are working here at SM Classic. We cannot say so much
All the details
at the moment, but I'm working as a director for a very innovative project, also with the partnership of SM brand, the SM Classic, our brand, to I like very much this project. It's very innovative. It hybridizes interactive holographic performances with modern ballet. Then what do you think about hybridizing, combining technology with human body, and dancing and all this stuff?
I think it's amazing what is happening now with, there's quite a few companies that are doing amazing work with projections and translucent projections of what is happening on stage and what has previously happened on stage. And I think it's all so interesting. And I think as long as the people on the dance side of these projects are coming with the same level of dance innovation as the technology that's coming in.
Yeah.
So the choreographers that are working with this are innovating on their end of movements and combinations of movements, that whether the technology, the technology innovation is here, that then as long as the choreography is matching that innovation, I find it really exciting.
This is fantastic, because it's like you are creating two different choreography, the physical one and the digital twin, the holographic choreography, and you have to find this kind of synergy between them and creating really something that can be a masterpiece. This is fantastic also because you can create interaction between human dancers and the holographic performance or the holographic environment, and then you can really give shapes to your ideas with technologies, something really that can be like fantasy environments or these kind of digital elements that can interact with dancers. There is so much potential in this, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was curious about the topic you were previously talking about, some people in your team that you show respect for their work and for like their piece of work within the project or projects that you're doing. It is very important to find that professional that you're comfortable to work with, that does everything like you've imagined it, the final result will be. How would would you like choose the right person? This kind of headhunting. Like how is a artistic director, as a founder of that company, like you would have to choose very carefully because you don't want to, like you have no how to say right to make a mistake, because like they're not. Uh-huh.
And I mean, I have worked with collaborations that didn't work so well behind the scenes that you learn. But I think within the theater community, looking around and seeing what other people are doing and what other dance companies or other theater productions are doing is really valuable, because that's how I've been able to meet a lot of the collaborators that I work with. That it's so interesting what somebody is doing in a theater production inspires me to see how it can be utilized in a dance production. Word or a Broadway show, productions where they might have a lot of more financial backing, inspires me to figure out how a way a way of doing something for Avant Chamber Ballet. So I think you do have to be open to the wider world of other performing arts in your region or beyond, always to be finding new people that you might be able to collaborate with or ideas you can use.
Yeah, I see.
For a moment, Antonia disappeared.
I think she will come back.
Yeah.
You were working for a few years in Greece, and as far as I understood, that group of choreographic group was not doing a classic ballet, right?
Yeah, Greece is also very close to Israel in the style of contemporary modern dance. And that's where a lot of, especially 10 years ago when I was there, a lot of innovation has happened. But I also was able to see amazing touring shows from all across Europe and open my eyes in ways that I think as an American, you think you've been exposed to so much, but that was a really eye-opening experience. And I always recommend for young artists to move and see something different, be exposed to a different culture, a whole different worldview beyond what you think, your paradigm is, can really open you up to ideas of how you can live your life differently and present your art differently.
Yeah, and the world of the classical ballet is like so conservative. I remember we were talking earlier, like not for this live stream, but before, that you've mentioned that you also would like to open up for some new things even in a classical traditional ballet. Would that experience in Greece, kind of help you to think differently?
Of course. The modern dance that I had been exposed to in ballet schools, I really didn't enjoy because it was kind of old fashioned, or the way it was presented was for ballet dancers. So then being exposed to release technique and gaga technique, which are very kind of postmodern, modern dance with a lot less, so say for a ballet dancer, Graham technique or Cunningham technique is very based on structures like a classical technique would be. So to do work that has a lot more personal expression or innovation within the studio, where you yourself are improvising. Something I had never experienced as a young dancer before I was in Greece, because I was still in my mid-20s at the time. I think opened me up to the idea of, I saw many more female choreographers there and artistic leaders and people doing a lot more project-based performances and festivals and things that were outside of the world of traditional ballet theaters, where, multi-million dollar organizations that do very structured performances. So I really think it did open me up to thinking about things in a different way outside of traditional classical ballet productions and how things are organized. That, yes, you start with this huge budget and it has to be commercially successful, and you have to use a full orchestra, and all of those things are fantastic, but not really accessible when you're just starting out and want to do something new within your own artistic vision, not going through a big organization.
Yeah. Well, it was like extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Katie, for joining us today. It was like so
Really.
rewarding and so like profound. We learned so much. I mean,
but Lisa, I
and
think
also I loved your energy, really, very much.
I think we need at least two more interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still like have maybe other 20 questions for you that we have to ask you, but for today we're like running out of time for the interview. But thank you very much. So we have the comment from Melanie. She's saying wonderful information, Katie. So yeah, it was really, really great interview. Thank you very much for coming. And we hope that you will join us in the future for some.
No, we hope.
Yeah.
We know for sure that Katie will come back to another interview.
Yeah.
Of course. I
Yeah.
love talking about the business of ballet and nonprofits. I think there's a lot of gatekeeping within large organizations. And yeah, should be taught more at performing arts schools, that how to budget, how grant and foundations work. And, the wonderful thing about now is that so much is available online between
Exactly.
YouTube and just being able to Google any question I have of even how to use QuickBooks. I can find the information myself, and that can be overwhelming. But I think it's also really empowering if
Yeah, a lot.
What we need is an incredible motivation.
To quote Elon Musk, you can basically learn everything on internet.
Exactly. What you need, guys, is a dream. You have to believe in yourself. Don't give up. If you have an idea, go and learn. Read books, new contact. Stay with people that are not musicians or ballet. I mean, the world is huge. It's full of information, and basically, you find all the information for free. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Okay,
Katie.
thank you very much for coming. And before we close, a word from our sponsor.